name is Gerry, I'm from Wild Eye, and I'm sitting on the banks of the Mara River, and I'm about to do a quick Lightroom tutorial for you guys. How cool is that? No, seriously, check this out. I got to the Mara a couple of hours ago. I'm starting a photographic safari tomorrow with some guests coming in. But watch this. I don't know if you can see that. So that's our fireplace and the Mara River just on the other side. So before we get into this, make sure you're following me on Instagram. I'm going to be posting stuff live from the field all day, every day in between. So short videos, images behind the scene, images from the field, guest images, and so on. It's almost like a virtual safari, if you will. Anyway, but let's get down to it. In one of the Q&A videos I did a little while ago, Mike asked about sharpness and ISO. Not sure if he's being, one, overcritical of his images, which a lot of us are, or if there's some issue with the camera or settings or whatever the case is. I asked Mike to send in some of his raw files so we can have a discussion. We swapped a couple of emails, and long story short, I've got 4 images of Mike that he's happy for me to go through, kind of, number one, talk through compositionally, look at whether it is sharp or not, and if it isn't, what the problem is. And then just for how do they say it, for shits and giggles, let's process them and see what the best is we can get out of it. So, I'm going to take you into Lightroom on the banks of the Mara River. This is pretty cool. Right, so these are the 4 images that Mike sent in. These are ones that he specifically had questions around the sharpness and so on. So, going through these one by one. First off, before we even look at settings, Mike, let's talk composition here. It is dead center in the frame. Now, normally we say the dead center is dead space, but in this case, I know because there's foliage on the right and at the bottom that you're trying to shoot through. First thing I would do on this is I would crop it in to what I'm going to present my image as. Yeah? But, okay, maybe I'm jumping. Let's look at the settings on this. So, on this, your shutter speed was 1/500, and your focal length was 450. Theoretically, that makes sense. So, from a sharpness point of view, that's one of the boxes that you have ticked. Zooming in on this, one click, let me just see what I'm set to here. This is a 1-to-1 ratio. That for me is very, very playable. Mike, I would use this most definitely. From a sharpness point of view, no issues. I'm going to come back to this one. Let's go to the next one here. Okay, immediately. Now, even without zooming in, we can see there's going to be an issue here. Why? Because your focal length here was 500 and your shutter speed was 1/320. Okay, you can get away with under, but your subject has to be the Mara makes me speak funny. Your subject has to be static. And I can see that that animal is busy growling, moving, snarling, whatever. So the combination of slight moving subject and a shutter speed that is slower than 1 over your focal length resulted in what looks like a soft image. And there we can see it, right? Not ideal. So your focus point might have been right, but not ideal. We can talk about composition on this one later on. But so sharpness here, I would, okay, maybe not bin this. We could find a use for it on the web. But yeah, that would be a bit soft. Let's look at this one. Interesting story happening here, which I'll discuss now, but let's look at the details first. 1/500 at a 300mm focal length. That plays, yeah? Your shutter speed is faster than 1 over your focal length. Interesting one to remember that. If I then zoom in, okay, it looks workable. Remember, this is raw file. We can still draw a lot out of here. So sharpness-wise, I would be happy for that. Now, this is an interesting one. A lot of photographers, bird photographers specifically starting out, will shoot stuff like this. Now, immediately, let's look at this. You've got 500/500, which checks the theory block, but it's hell of a small, so you're going to have to crop in a huge amount, which will emphasize any shake or softness that there is, but it's such a cool image by the look of it. Let's zoom in a bit. You see, so at 1-to-1, it is relatively sharp, but to get this image to a presentable point, you're going to have to zoom in a lot, and we can do that now when we crop. So, of those 4, Mike, I would say just the second one for me, I would bin from a sharpness point of view, right? I would bin that. So, let's go to the beginning, our first one. And, okay, I'm not going to get too stuck into the technical side of the Lightroom stuff. If any of you have questions on this, throw it at me and I can deal with it in the Q&A video series. I'm doing one from the Mara and hopefully from Amboseli, and then again when I get back to Joburg. So, any questions on Lightroom, shoot, and we can look at this. So, Mike, on this, what I would do first of all, I would crop this in to the presentable. Because I'm not going to present the image like this. So I'm not going to sharpen and worry about that there. I'm going to present this probably somewhere like that. So I've got a beautiful leading line coming through the frame. The subject's at the bottom third. Not that that's the end of the story always. Rule of thirds is nice, but I think it's overrated sometimes. It kind of boxes you into always doing the same as everybody else. There's a time to break the rules. Learn them, then break them. So then just do a quick, if you guys check out some of the previous tutorials, you'll see how and what we're doing all of these things here. Lift the shadows a bit, have a quick look. What I would do, you guys can play this over and over and over again and see what happened. This is just to give Mike some idea of what we could potentially do with this image. Create a new brush, duplicate there, lift the exposure a little bit, maybe lift shadows and clarity, drop. Okay, Mike, remember I'm doing this in a very quick, something like that. Yeah, so if we look at it before and after, that's where I would go with this. So remember, this is a 30 seconds, not my image. I don't know what the vision was, but that's what I see. I like it, punches a bit more, it's richer. Just darkening that background a little bit makes the subject pop. So very slight dodging and burning. You shouldn't be able to look at the image and say, you darkened this, you lightened this, and so on. Then you failed. Right, so at this point, Mike, if we now go back to your question on sharpness, if we zoom in to a 2:1 and we put it over there, that to me is workable. I'm not going to do a full sharpening tutorial now. I have got those online. You can go check them out. But this for me, if I then go and I start sharpening here, whatever sharpening you choose to go with. So if we look at, you see, it's very, very workable. I mean, I would mask out something like that. Go out. So that for me on this one, Mike, I would definitely go with that. That to me is a very workable image. Let me just get the views right here. I would definitely play with that. But let me put them on top of each other for you. And we can go like... See, now my computer's also in the Mara, it's resting. So that's before, that's after. You can see how the subject pops. First of all, I've checked my sharpness boxes. I like what I see. I then crop into my workable image that I'm going to present and then sharpen at the end. So that one, absolutely workable. Great shot. Now let's look at this one very quickly. Again, we determined already that the shutter speed here was too slow and it's a moving subject. Those two things together, you're probably going to end up with a soft image, right? So looking in here, let's just show if we're going to try and sharpen any of this. So we'll look at that area there. If I'm going to sharpen this, you see, it's possible to get some, but it's going to be crude. It's going to be rough. So, Mike, on something like this, if you really feel the need to use this image, I would probably do this. First of all, because if I look at this line here, it's nothing. It doesn't add to the story. It's just there. So make your story about this cat. So automatically, my story is more enhanced, more stable. Then you could process this a little bit. If you were to post this on the web and sharpen accordingly, you could very well get away and make it look sharp. However, maybe as a sales check for yourself, never go that route. Always sharpen to the best of your abilities and then put your work out there. So this could work if you really go and polish it up a bit, but I personally wouldn't go that far. Right, this one again, we decided, what was my specs here? I had 1.5 and a 300, so this does work. In this case, I would also, the only thing I would crop out of this image here would be this trunk on the side because it does bother me a little bit and it draws my eye away. I would literally just do that. Tightens it up a little bit. From there, it feels like we need to just lift the shadows a little bit. Clary saturation. Again, guys, we're just playing here to see what we can make of some of these as a part of... I'm still feeling that this line's a bit dark. So if we can go... Subtle, yes. Remember, subtle. Right. And we go over there. Okay, subtle there. I'm going to add a new one. Again, it's a nice thing. I mean, you have to kind of work with what you have, but it's always nice to... Dodging and burning can and will always help you with your images. So I would go that route, Mike, and then I would sharpen from there again. Looking up close. Okay, that's workable. Remember, raw, I haven't sharpened yet. That to me would be workable for both. You can print this as well, I would reckon. So just on that, there's your before, there's your after. Slight punch. Again, guys, subtle with wildlife photography processing. Don't go overboard. You don't need all the layers and the things and stuff. Keep it in Lightroom, keep it tight, keep it real. I should write that down. That's quite nice. Right. On this one, Mike, we decided the shutter speed was good. It checked the boxes of 1 over. It was 500 and 500. But watch this now. If I'm going to crop this into a usable image, so with bird photography, you want to get as much full frame as you can. That probably could work. But now watch. Immediately, it starts looking, I've pulled it open so much that the sharpness on this, so if we can go just down straight to sharpness, and punch it a bit. You could get away with this. Look, you're not going to print this at this kind of crop, but web-wise, you could possibly make this work. I mean, I would have to go and look at some maybe selective sharpening on this bird. Push the clarity, push the sharpness on the bird a bit. Then I would have to look at, for example, again, pulling the background down a little bit. Maybe overdoing it slightly here now. But something in that vibe. Let's just check there. So that's before and after. You could get a workable image for the web. Big difference, guys, remember, between web and print. Very, very different. So, Mike, that's just a rough look, guys, at some of the images from a sharpness point of view. Remember, first block, make sure 1 over your focal length is your minimum shutter speed. If you're going for sharp images, you can throw that out the window when you do other things as well. Then, before you sharpen and worry about sharpness, no good looking at a big image with a small subject saying it's not sharp enough. Crop your frame, get your frame right, look at the image you're going to present to the big bad world, and then look at your sharpening. Mike, I hope that helped. You have my email. Drop me another question on this if you have any, and we can take it from there. Everybody else, if you have any Lightroom questions on this, or anything we did here, or your own ones, send them to me. I love the feedback and the interaction. Gets me going. I like that. We can learn, we can teach, and share a lot of information. It's awesome to do. So, anyway, what else? I'm going to be doing a Q&A. One of the video series is live from the Mara. Well, not live recorded. So if you have any questions on a photo safari, on Kenya, on the Mara, on wildlife photography, anything, send them through to me. I am monitoring and checking questions on my feed, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Send them through and I will answer those questions for you. Anyway, I'm going to now finish my coffee because I just arrived off the planes and stuff. And then I'm going to sit over there later on with the ice-cold scotch and prepare for my photo safari with a bunch of awesome guests. I know them all. It's going to be fantastic. Anyway, follow along online and send me some questions. Let's play. My name is Gerry. I'm from Wild Eye. I will see you next time.